All right, so that's sort of the logistics of what we're going to be doing. You all have some idea about the intent of what we're doing, but I'll just reel off a little synopsis again, just for the heck of it. We grow up unconsciously mastering different modes of resisting and avoiding and trying to manage our own experience. It's not even conscious, it's not thought out, but that's just what we do. It's like there's all of these unconscious pain management strategies that you developed over a lifetime. A lot of those play out in the way that we communicate with each other. There's a lot of conventions to the way that we communicate with each other, which are unconsciously designed to prevent too much intimacy, because intimacy can be uncomfortable. Now, it can also be fabulous, blissful, and so everybody sort of thinks they want it. But it's a package deal. If you really want intimacy, if you want profound intimacy, you got to be willing to embrace discomfort, which is sort of an acquired taste. I think you probably all heard me joke before about becoming a connoisseur of pain. No, you haven't heard me joke about that. I think it's useful to become a connoisseur of pain. So you don't embrace all pain equally. It's like if you're doing yoga and you twist your knee the wrong way and it goes, "Nyah," that means stop, stupid. But if you are, leaning into a stretch and you got this dull ache going all through the back of your leg, you learn, oh, that's good pain. That's worth it. It's important for me to lean into that, and I will benefit from it. So it's the same with every other kind of pain as far as I'm concerned. Noticing which are the important ones to learn to move toward. For instance, in this group, embarrassment or shame will come up repeatedly. And my advice to you is to look for opportunities to move toward embarrassment. To name that very thing that you're embarrassed to say. And what you'll find is that then you will have an uncomfortable sensation associated with that, probably. But as I was alluding to earlier, part of what we're doing here is learning to enhance our capacity to embrace that discomfort. Not just because we're masochists, but in service of a more open, compassionate way of being that welcomes the whole enchilada. And the more that you do that, the more you find that you're... Here's the funny thing. The majority of your pain comes from trying to avoid pain. The better you get at not resisting pain, the less pain you have. It may get worse before it gets better, if I'll be honest. In my experience and other people's experience, if you take your foot off the brake, yeah, you may have some waves of discomfort that were like, oh my God, no wonder I was hiding from this. I'm scared of this. I don't want to be with this. And you may just have to take it on faith for a little while. But then you come out the other side and you find that life is a lot more rewarding, a lot less stressful, a lot more easy than it ever was before. I like to say that people are going through life with their foot on the gas and their foot on the brake at the same time. And you're lurching down the road, but there's a lot of smoke coming out from under the hood, and it's a very inefficient way to live. If you can get to where you're not in resistance, and emotional energy just like moves through you like an unobstructed tube, it just then no problem. They can serve the functions that they were meant to serve. I grew up as a WASP, a repressed middle class training, and I like to say that I became more Italian with age. So now, you know, if I get mad, I get mad. Hey, what's the matter, you? And it comes out and it goes. You know, if I'm sad, I just cry, and it's not a problem. And there's very little resistance. In fact, I find crying quite enjoyable. And I see lots of people in my practice and stuff are like, oh, you know, it's terrible. I don't want to have to cry now. You know, their eyes get all puffy. They get a headache. I feel awful. That's from the foot on the brake. That's from all the resistance there is to having the experience. If you don't have the resistance, it's totally functional. Makes you feel better. Cleans you out. So, what we'll be doing in here, that's kind of a tangent, but what I was saying is that we've learned these unconscious methods of managing our experience, trying to minimize pain. Actually, they tend to blow up in our face, and some of our attempts at minimizing pain actually increase it. And some of those methods that we have unconsciously mastered have to do with how we communicate, how we routinely prevent too much intimacy, meaning too much of the sensations that we don't want to have. We will in here intentionally be dropping those conventions of communication that we've learned and adopting some new ones, trying on some experiments in communication that I'll suggest, in order to feel more, the whole package, and to create more connection than we're used to. And as I say, we'll find on the other side that that's, at least I hope you will find, as I have and many people that I've worked with, that it's a much more rewarding way to live. That, like, for instance, if you handle every little conflict that you have with someone that you're close to right away, willingly, you just keep getting closer to them. And you feel closer to them after going through the thing that you were avoiding talking about than you did before it ever came up. So that's the possibility. And how that will look is I may assign particular exercises, or I may just invite you to talk. And sometimes when you're talking, I will suggest, would you try saying that another way? I'll give you another way to try to say that as an experiment for you to conduct. You try it on, you say it, and you notice what you notice in the act of saying it. It's very likely that the way that I'll suggest you say something will feel more intensely than the way you were doing it before. Like all kinds of little things, like people say, you know how it is when you're trying your hardest and people don't appreciate you and blah, 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 and they're talking about you, and then what they're talking about is them, right? So it's a more intense experience for them to say, I know how it is when I'm trying my hardest and other people don't seem to appreciate it, and blah, blah. Oh, that's a little heavier in my body to say. So that's why they said it the first way in the first place. So it's things like that that I'll suggest, would you try that like this? And it may, at times we'll find that stuff will arise in the group between people. There'll be conflicts or charges or attractions or appreciations or that arise between people. And I might facilitate a conversation between them. Or with me. If you get pissed off with me, you can tell me that you're pissed off with me. And I'll do my best to wear both hats of being the able facilitator and a human being that's in a conversation with you. In fact, I sometimes move the hat so you know which position I'm speaking from. That's probably enough about that. Any questions, comments, ridicule? Does that make sense? Does that sound good? Does that sound like why you're here? Okay, good. Well, now what we're going to do, you can